The following podcast contains explicit language. You're listening to the Cinematography podcast presented by Hot Rod Cameras, a program about the art, craft, and philosophy of the moving image and the people who make it happen. Coming to you from the world headquarters of Hot Rod Cameras in Hollywood, California, are your hosts, Ben Rock and Ilya Friedman.
Hey, Ben, welcome back.
So excited to be back. You like my new haircut? Our listeners can't appreciate it.
Yeah, you had a pandemic do that would not quit.
I know. I had a COVID haircut, which is to say the last time I got my haircut was like 8 months ago. And I was like, oh, I just got my haircut. No. It was October. And finally couldn't take it anymore. So, but no one can see it, so that's boring. Anyway, Ilya, who is on the show today?
We have a duo. We've got Carey Williams and Mike Dallatorre from the hit Sundance movie, Emergency.
Awesome.
And, not only a Sundance movie, now available on Amazon. You can find it on Amazon, and I highly recommend everyone check it out. It's absolutely worth watching, and you'll get a nice preview of it right now from the interviews, but you should definitely go watch it. It was in theaters, now it's on Amazon. Worth watching.
Excellent. But let's get into our close focus today, which is kind of an observation that both of us have been having, but I don't feel like I haven't heard it framed this way in the press. And I would end it with a question mark. Are we at the end of peak television?
I think television has finally jumped the shark. Yes. I think that we are on the decline. I think that if Ben Katz can add taps or like a funeral march or something right now in the background, something like that would be very appropriate because with the merger of Warner Media and Discovery Networks and the cancellations of so many shows.
Oh my God, it's insane how many shows they got canceled.
I mean, things that were big that had studio executives behind and DC Universe stuff, all kinds of things. It's just like they're falling to the wayside.
Yeah, a buddy of mine, I probably shouldn't mention the show, but a buddy of mine was a director on one of the shows that got the axe. And it was like fully employed directing episodic television. And it was one of the DC shows. And then like just bloodbath, a few weeks ago, just all gone. But then on top of all that, we've got Netflix, which, I know we talked about it on the show a couple weeks ago. Netflix losing subscribers, canceling shows. And for a while there, it just felt like there was maybe too many shows. Like, I don't want to say a glut, but I'm sure that all of us had this experience where someone was like, hey, are you watching...
anything.
Ozark. I watched Ozark, but like, are you watching Ozark? And you'd be like, oh, no. I mean, it's on my list of something I'm going to get to one day. And there are just so many like amazing premium shows. And we talk to the people who make them here all the time. And I'm hopeful that it's more of a pause in peak TV, and peak TV can keep going back up. But for now, a lot of people are out of work.
Yeah, and TNT and TBS have both announced that scripted shows are going away. No more scripted shows for them. That's a pretty big content change. And, scripted shows are often very expensive, some of the most expensive programming you can do. So it's like, what is that saying about what those networks are going to become? They're going to become not a destination for anything scripted or original. It's going to be unscripted. It's going to be cheap shows. It's going to be shows that they can, slap together and put out into the world. So
reality shows and stuff.
Reality.
Yeah, I mean, it's but like HBO Max isn't going to go for that. But since HBO is owned by Warner Brothers and Warner Brothers has now merged with Discovery, I mean, Discovery has sort of been wreaking havoc in its own way on network after network as it acquired networks and made them more cost efficient. This is just my opinion. I don't run a network, but I feel like you go, okay, well, we're cutting costs and we're making stuff at a lower cost, but you're also not keeping the library alive. So in 10 years, you're going to have to keep reinventing new stuff. You're going to have to keep starting new stuff and trying it out and throwing more stuff at the wall because you don't have as much library stuff to support you. Whereas if you kept stuff like, I don't know, DC's Legends of Tomorrow on the air. Maybe Legends of Tomorrow isn't making the big, ginormous numbers, but it's able to pay for itself. But characters will spin off of that, or it'll get reinvented, or maybe one day it becomes a bigger hit. And to me, it's very penny wise and pound foolish, in my opinion, to be cutting all the stuff. Then again, obviously, these people, they have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders, and they have to make the most money, and that's why these people make the big bucks. You know, I'm not there. I would rather there be too much amazing television out there than a bunch of reality shows. I don't need a bunch of Duck Dynasty in my life.
You don't need some more Real Housewives?
I need no more Real Housewives.
HBO was not immune to things like Raised by Wolves canceled. And, it's not like it was small or unsuccessful series that got canceled. And if you haven't seen the full list, those lists are out there. I'm just going to say things like the 4400, Charmed, Dynasty, Naomi, Roswell, New Mexico, Batwoman, Legends of Tomorrow, gone. Oh, and In the Dark. All those are gone. There were a few shows that were renewed, of course, but it'll be interesting to see if this ends up being the moment, the time when television jumped the shark, as it were, and peak television started its decline. And who knows? Well, maybe it'll be like 2004 all over again, where we all start watching Fear Factor. So I don't know.
I hope not. I hope it drives people back into movie theaters, and then people can watch movies again, because we've also all had the experience of watching a TV series that was, 12 hours long and said, well, that would have been really good as a 2.5 hour movie.
I hope so as well. Let's get to the interview. Why don't we do that? It's about time for that. Let's get to the interview with Carey Williams and Mike Dallatorre.
All right.
The Cinematography Podcast Interview.
Hey, I am joined right now by Carey Williams and Mike Dallatorre, the creative team behind the new Sundance debut, Emergency. It's a feature film. I just watched it. I really enjoyed it. Gentlemen, thank you for being on the Cinematography Podcast.
Hey, thank you for having us. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Carey, let's start with you. Carey, tell me a little bit about how you and Mike met up and how you guys found each other for this job.
Well, it's been so many years ago. Let me see if I can remember. No, I saw a music video that Mike shot, and I was newly in LA, and I was trying to build some community and some collaborators. And I reached out just blindly. I found out who shot it, and was like, hey man, love this video. Love what you did. Maybe we can do some work together sometime. He was nice enough to hit me back, and was like, yeah, man, I'm down. Let's meet up. And is that about accurate, Mike?
Pretty much. Sometime in the early 2000s, like 2002, 2003 ish, and then we just kept shooting music videos and short films, and over the decades now, essentially built not only an artistic and professional relationship, but a great friendship over the years.
Well, that's been like 20 years then. Well, congratulations, guys. That's in Hollywood terms, that's like, your silver anniversary or something. You guys have been together a long time. That's great.
Yeah, we have. And he hasn't gotten sick of me yet, I don't think.
I know Emergency was originally a short film that also debuted over at Sundance and was a big hit there. Tell us about the dream story that so many filmmakers have about making a short film and having that expanded into a feature.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, we made this short in a program called Project Involve, which is with Film Independent. And I met the writer there, KD Dabla, and we made the short, and, we felt like, hey, this is risky, the subject matter, the way we're handling it, but we resonated. And, we did well at Sundance and went to South by, and I was in an interview live, and they're asking, what are you guys gonna do with the short? And I just was like, we're making a feature. Like, I didn't really even think about it. And so Katie was like, uh-oh, did you really just put me on blast like that? And I was like, okay. So we started meeting about how to make it into a feature. And thankfully, Katie was down to explore that. But, she wanted to make sure we had a good way into it. And she found that way with making it one night. I really wanted to have that opportunity to explore the characters more with this larger canvas. And she got to writing, and thankfully we were able to connect with the production company, Temple Hill Entertainment, and they got it to Amazon. Then we were, off to the year of waiting. Things take so long. It's like, you got to have multiple things going on because you'll go crazy waiting, but that's part of the game. You lots of meetings, get notes and you back and forth. But I will say that Temple Hill and Amazon were both very supportive of the vision, and definitely were great collaborators in making it happen.
All right. So, Michael, I understand that you gaffed the short originally, and now you shot the feature. Did you have a couple of extra M18s to play with, I'm guessing? Do you have a couple extra of, toys? I'm sure it was a slightly different experience from shooting the short to shooting the feature, but how did it feel sort of to get the band back together and to do all this?
I mean, it was great. I mean, it was one of those projects where Carey was doing it through Project Involve. So everyone's there kind of as a group. So, because it's like, you don't have a lot of money to shoot these shorts. And they told me about it. I'm like, dude, I'll come out there work for free. And it's Carey. So I was like, I don't care. I'll come out there and do whatever I need to do. So that was fun to be part of it. And I just wanted to be part of the short. And then when the opportunity came to shoot the feature, I was like, this is no brainer, man. And knowing Carey for such a long time, there's a shorthand there that really resonates. And also I feel like I've done Emergency is my 7th feature. So having that knowledge, I kept wanting to bring stuff in, being like, this is what's going to happen. We should be ready for this. Carey is a very visual director and has a specific idea of how things want to be shot, and either camera movement and placing of the lenses and everything. Sometimes it's like, okay, so I had to figure out stuff like rigs, camera placements, the way to we had a right angle prism because we were in the van quite a bit. And that van was very difficult to shoot. We actually shot that all on LED screens because of the driving. And because we only really had 2 vans, we couldn't cut holes in them or anything like that. So to get interesting angles, we had to find ways. So Panavision made me a right angle adapter and things like that. But yeah, I always knew that Carey was going to come up with something very visual, very interesting. And that challenge is I love it. It's like what gets me going. And it's like, oh, cool. How can I figure this out? And then my artistic mind starts going into my engineering mind and actually breaks it down that way. And I, that makes it so interesting for me and so much fun. Even though at the end of the day or the end of the night, because we shot all nights, you feel fulfilled, especially once you see the final film.
Well, yeah. It's a very high-end look. I mean, it really is. It's a high-end look. It betrays what your budget then probably was. I mean, it looks like you guys had no needs that went unfulfilled for all this. And Carey, can you talk a little bit just about maybe the process of getting into the look design of the whole show with Michael and how you guys came up with this, very sort of slick and glossy and very polished look for the film?
Sure, man. We would meet, on Zoom and talk through each scene. So I went through the script and made a shot list for every scene and shared it with Mike. And then we would meet and talk about each scene. He would talk about lenses, what lenses we could do this scene with. But we also talked about the visual feel of the scenes, just beyond just the technical, what lenses. And he put together this great lookbook from shots of films that, he pulled together and shared it with me. And then, I would put some stuff in together and we had this thing to reference that gave us the feel of what it was. And that to me is as he said, I'm very visual. So it's I want to see what does this movie look like before we get there, And so, that's nothing new, that's people do, you make lookbooks, but I feel like Mike was very meticulous about each scene. This is how I think it would feel. And then we had that back and forth, and that was very helpful before we got there. And, Mike's also he's very technical. He hit both of those things. And, to have that partnership before I got there to the day made me feel very, very comfortable. I already feel comfortable with Mike as a friend and collaborator before, but this was the biggest thing I've done to this date. And his level of detail, and attention to the detail made me feel even more comfortable going in. So I'm thankful for that.
Mike, anything you want to jump in there before I go on to the next question?
Thanks, man. Yeah, we're a good yin and yang collaboration, I feel, too. Emotions were very important for us, and the vulnerability and everything like that. And it was sometimes we would just go back to what the key emotion was for that scene and say, what's going on here? What, Kunle should feel pressured or Sean is scared at this point, it's things like that, just kind of bring you back to what it's about. And then you take the kind of all the mess away and just kind of hone into what the heart of it really is.
Yeah. I will say one thing too, that I was very concerned about with this film was the nighttime stuff, because it was all nighttime, not looking like it was a spotlight on things. it at night, which I hate when I see in movies. And I kept, drilling that home. We got to make sure it looks like night. How dark can we go? How dark can we go? And Mike was like, don't worry, we got it, And so the end result I'm very happy with, because I was like, I better not see no spotlight in the woods. It's like,
yeah, we were very much like, is this too Scooby-Doo? It's just not like no smoke. I think I don't think we used any smoke even, like, you know what I mean? Just like as natural feeling as it could be to really make the audience feel like they're with these guys.
It is a very intimate story, and it's one of those movies that takes place over essentially 24 hours or even a little bit less than that. But Carey, do you want to do like the elevator pitch, the 30-second synopsis sort of the whole thing?
Oh, yeah. So basically the movie centers around two friends, Sean and Kunle, who are about to embark on an epic night of partying, the legendary tour, as they call it. And they go home before they're about to go on this night of partying, and they find a young white girl passed out on their floor. And with their roommate, Carlos, they are basically trying to decide what to do about this thing, because, a natural impulse would be to call the cops for help. And Kunle feels like that's the thing to do, but Sean disagrees wholeheartedly. So the film becomes basically them trying to, Sean convinces them not to do it, and them trying to bring her to safety. And there's a domino effect of what happens, each choice they make of trying to get her to safety. And through that process, a lot of things are revealed between the two characters of how they feel about each other and how they see the world. And in that, it's, I think, hilarious. It's heartbreaking. It's dramatic. It's and all those things. And hopefully raises a lot of questions for people that see it, who may feel like, oh, they could have just called the cops. And then other people are like, no, they absolutely couldn't. It's two friends who have two different worldviews that are revealing things to each other. And that's kind of it in a nutshell. I'm really bad at these elevator pitches, man. I kind of ramble a little bit. So,
No, I don't think so at all. I think you summarized it actually really perfectly. And I got one question. I grew up in a couple of places where having run-ins with the police and having the police not be that friendly to you was actually not uncommon too. And twice I got stopped by cops and held at gunpoint. And it is absolutely terrifying. It is probably the most terrifying experiences of my life, having it happen twice. And I'm curious if either of you have had this happen, because one of the things that you capture so well in this movie is when Kunle completely just loses it because this is happening to him. And I just want to find out, did you have any personal experience with this? Have you also had a run-in with the cops where you were a gun pointed at you or you didn't know what was going to happen?
Oh, absolutely. I've been profiled many times. It's this not, yeah. I mean, it definitely pulled on some personal experiences to get into the head of what that, it wasn't hard for me to pull from personal experiences for what Kunle is going through. And Mike, I know you and I talked about some of your experiences. So you want to share?
Yeah, man, I grew up in Compton and Watts and South Central Los Angeles. So there was many times, actually during the LA riots, I think I was 11 years old and we were in the wrong place and stuff. And, but also like, as a kid growing up, and I remember getting pulled over one time and actually having them do the whole thing where like the hokey pokey, where you like open the door with your right hand from the outside and put your left foot out first and all this shit, and come up and turn around and there's like all these cops pointing guns at you and you're just like, what in the world is going on? You feel the time just stops. And that's kind of also like, we shot a lot of off speed stuff during that scene for that same reason, where it's just like time just slows down and just everything just feels awkward. And you're almost, even though your focus, like you don't know what to focus on, because, essentially your life is being threatened. So, there's that part of it. And then I've actually had times where, been detained for just being in the wrong place. And it's just kind of, so, you take all that with you. We took that fear into everything. And also, like one of the things I could point out too, is that like with the police, we never see the police's face. And that was something that Carey and I came up with, saying like, we just wanted it to feel like, it's almost kind of like a scary movie in a way, where they're like, you don't quite see whatever the monster or the scary thing is, but it's there, it's present, it's looming. And it's something that is real. And that was actually a very difficult scene to shoot, not logistically, but emotionally, personally for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I came over to one of our good friends, Lindsay, who unfortunately passed away earlier last year. And we both like gave each other a hug and sighed. And we're like, this is so hard to do, just because even though we were making believe of something, and it just was so difficult for us to do because emotionally it was happening to all of us. And I think it comes through, and then Donald just kills it. So you're just like, wow, oh my God, you just pulled my heart out. So yeah, it's a beautiful. And then Carey went in there, really just kind of got them into their place. And it just was, we all, we were all firing that day. There was one of those days when you're in the zone. And that was the day where everyone was like, we were all just zoned the whole day. So, I feel like it comes through, and I'm very proud of that.
It's a magic climax of the movie. And I got to say, like, you nailed it. You guys captured it. It's like, you see being profiled, featured in movies and television shows all the time. And it's treated as like this non-emotional sort of like throwaway sort of thing. And the reaction from so many of the actors, the characters are in those scenes, just completely betrays what it's actually like. And this is the first time I ever saw something that was like, that is exactly what it's like. That is absolutely exactly what it's like, and is fucking terrifying. You did nothing wrong, but man, you don't know if you're going to be still breathing 5 seconds, 5 seconds from now. It's really, well done. And I know we're out of time here, but gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the show. Really glad that we could sit down and talk for a few minutes, and can't wait. People are going to get to see this. I know you guys have the, participation with Amazon, so I'm assuming it's coming to Amazon in a not too distant future. Is there a website or something now if people want to find out more about the movie or anything? Is there someplace people can go?
Will be on Prime on the 27th of May.
All right. Well, really soon. Watch for Emergency coming to Amazon. Thanks, gentlemen. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, man.
Yeah.
Hey, well, that was Carey Williams and Mike Dallatorre. Thank you so much for being on the show. Ben, guess what time it is?
Is it time? I don't have a good joke. Time to pay the bills?
Time to pay the bills. So we got to thank our good friends over at Aperture, maker of fine LED lights for motion picture, television, content creation use. And they have some really interesting sort of offshoot products. They're not branded Aperture, but they are every bit an Aperture product. They use another name called Amaran. And Amaran has got a brand new fixture that has literally just started shipping. We got our first truckload today over at Hot Red Cameras. At least 20 or 30 of these F21X lights came in off a truck, and it's a 2-foot by 1-foot bicolor LED flexible fabric light, which is essentially something that's about as thick as like, I don't know, a piece of cardboard, and you can tape it to a wall, but it's actually an LED light, and it's really impressive. It's got a softbox, got a bunch of things, doesn't take up much power, and it's pretty darn bright. It gives you full color, and it costs about $600. It is pretty tough to beat that. If you need something that you can roll up and throw into a bag, it doesn't take up too much space. The Aperture/Amaran F21X is well worth taking a look at, especially if you need something easy and lightweight to travel with, which a lot of people do.
Awesome.
And now, short ends.
So Ben, we've reached that time of the show, the short end time. What is your obsession this week?
My obsession, as we're talking about peak TV, I just binged a series that I'd been looking forward to for a while on Hulu, and that is Pistol, which is sort of a quasi-biopic of Steve Jones of the Sex Pistols. And
also of Jonesy's Jukebox.
Of course.
Yeah, which is only relevant to people in Los Angeles who've heard his radio show, but still.
But legendary punk guitarist, and it's directed by Danny Boyle and shot by our great friend Anthony Dodmantle. Anyone who has listened to the show has probably heard me suck up to Anthony Dodmantle. I'm a massive fan of his work. I would say, as I've talked to people about Pistol, it seems to split people. A lot of people like it, a lot of people don't like it, and I think I have figured out why. I feel like it is a pretty okay biopic of the Sex Pistols, as told by Steve Jones, who's like, when you think of the Sex Pistols, unless you're a massive fan, you probably think of Johnny Rotten and Sid Vicious. They are characters in the series. They're in there, but it's about Steve Jones. And weirdly about Chrissie Hynde of The Pretenders. Like, Chrissie Hynde is a major character in it, but there's a lot of people, Billy Idol, Susie Sue. There's a bunch of punk characters who kind of show up in there. But I feel like it is more of a Danny Boyle story than it is a Sex Pistol story, and I'll explain what that means. Years ago, and I think I even ran this by Anthony Dodmantle. I don't remember his reaction, but I kind of decoded what it is that a Danny Boyle story is. And here's the Danny Boyle story. Danny Boyle story is weird outsider infiltrates somebody's bubble and screws up whatever it is they're doing, like completely blows up their plant. And that's Train Spotting. That's 28 Days Later. That's the entire plot of The Beach. I would argue that Sunshine is that. I would argue that Slumdog Millionaire is that. And this is about Steve Jones, who kind of gets in with Malcolm McLaren and infiltrates Malcolm McLaren's weird subculture that he's trying to cultivate in Britain. Malcolm McLaren is trying to bring down Britain culturally.
I don't mean to interrupt you because I could be wrong here. Is it Malcolm McLaren or Marshall McLuhan?
Marshall McLuhan wrote...
Medium is the message?
Yeah. Okay, Malcolm McLaren was the producer. He's kind of the guy who assembled the Sex Pistols.
All right, gotcha. Okay, which is awesome. But for a second, I was like, I don't know who this Malcolm McLaren guy is. But I do know who Marshall McLuhan is. And I was like, is Marshall McLuhan somehow related to the Sex Pistols? I was like, my mind was about to be blown.
That would be pretty amazing. Like Malcolm McLaren was kind of like a weird punk rock dandy who
the old punk rock
he had something to do with the New York Dolls. He's very young, and the actor who plays him in Pistol, I think, nails what kind of the specific kind of weirdo that he was. But basically, it's like Malcolm McLaren is trying to like bring down Britain and has these revolutionary ideas about what he's going to do with rock and roll music, which is a little naive when we think about it now. And then Steve Jones kind of gets into his thing, and then Johnny Rotten gets in, and it's like a Russian nesting doll of people blowing up someone else's weird subculture that they're trying to create. And, the guy who plays Johnny Rotten comes very close to kind of capturing the insane energy of John Lydon. The guy who plays Sid Vicious like perfectly nails Sid Vicious. It's freaky. But what I love about it is the Danny Boyle-ness of it, the way it's shot, the Anthony Dodmantle's photography. It's framed in a 4x3. I didn't look into this, so I could be crazy wrong, but I'm willing to bet they shot it on 16 millimeter. That's what it looks like. It's got a beautiful, bloomy, awesome look. I think the character stuff is interesting. It does not, in my opinion, it is not trying to transport me to the time and place and make me feel like I was really there. I feel like it is a very impressionistic series that's trying to make me feel like what it felt like more than understand the literal, like, this is what it was like. You know, there's a certain magic to it. There's a certain charm to it. There's a huge sadness to it. And I would encourage anyone who's thinking about checking it out, watch it as a Danny Boyle thing. Like, watch Train Spotting and then watch this, and you'll see massive overlaps. And it is gorgeous. Anthony Dodmantle, as always, nails it.
Well, I'm really looking forward to it. I haven't tried it yet, but there is actually a billboard for Pistols right down the street from my house, and so I see it every day, and I keep thinking, I gotta watch that. I'm watching something else on Amazon right now. As soon as that's over, that's probably the next thing for me.
Yeah, random thing. My son plays soccer with the kid of the guy who does all the key art for FX, or who did the key art for Pistol.
Oh, wow.
So he's like the art director, so he's always doing those massive campaigns.
They do have some really great key art, and their billboards are pretty spectacular, I got to say. They're very eye-catchy and colorful. Yeah. I remember when Legion popped up, and that was all over Los Angeles, and holy crap, is that some great art. I don't know if it's also him, but man, that's fantastic.
Anyway, so Ilya, what is your obsession of the week?
Wow. Well, it's a pretty recent thing. It was just announced today, and so I guess maybe it's my obsession today. You know, I'm a big fan of the Fargo television series. Love Fargo. Very thrilled that it's coming back, because I kind of feel like each season they keep kind of raising the game and it gets better and better, and the cast is just incredible. And no exception for season 5. They've just announced the cast is going to include John Hamm. Who, of course, John Hamm, everyone knows who John Hamm is. He's everywhere and everything, and he's great. Juno Temple, maybe most famously currently of Ted Lasso, and Jennifer Jason Leigh is the sort of like the 3 big names they've announced. And boy, Fargo goes dark, and it gets creepy, and it goes into all kinds of, like, you know, skullduggery sort of intrigue. And I can't wait to see what they get to with this cast. It's going to be great. So I've been thinking about it all day as soon as I read that. And I can't wait for Fargo season 5 now.
Excellent. Well, I mean, they just announced it, so they're not filming it yet, I assume, or are they?
Probably not. Well, they don't have it. There's no information about director, no information about cinematographer. There's not a lot of stuff out there, but they've just revealed the cast. So who knows? It was only 2014 that it debuted back on FX, and I feel like they've been really prolific since 2014. I feel like each time it comes out, I'm really grateful that the show comes back. And even though there's a break between them, they don't feel the need to really try to carry a through line through all of them. They kind of reinvent it themselves each time, and it's spectacular. I love it. It's great. Not since like Watchmen, the series, have I felt like there was another series that really went out to reinvent itself and completely succeeded the way Fargo has.
That's great to hear. No, I'd love to check that out. I'm excited about that. All those actors are great, and it's interesting too. Jennifer Jason Leigh, it might be one of the first actors that I know of in the series who's worked with the Coen brothers before. Not that the Coen brothers don't do the Fargo series, but like obviously it's based on it's mostly based on the tone they set in the original Fargo movie. Like, it's interesting to make a tone sequel that's not in any way a literal sequel.
Yeah, and if you think back of cast, I mean, the cast has just been incredible, including like previous seasons like Chris Rock and Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Ewan McGregor.
Oh wait, I'm totally wrong. Billy Bob Thornton was in the first season, and he's all over the Coen brothers. He's been in a few of their projects.
Exactly. So yeah, there is some stuff like that as well too, which is great. So, all right. So Ben, where can people find you if they want to find you?
I know you say that with a sly smirk, but you can find me at benrock.com, just the way it sounds, benrock.com. You can find all my social medias and all that stuff. You can also go to Facebook and join the group. You can go to Facebook.
Where's the werewolf? It's kind of like Where's Waldo, but it's werewolves.
Where's a needs wolf? You can go to Facebook and join the group Needs a Werewolf, and you'll find me and my friends there goofing on werewolf stuff. Funny thing about Facebook, you start a group about werewolves, and eventually people come to the group expecting that someone there knows how to bite you and turn you into a werewolf, and they're not joking.
That did not happen.
No, it happened. For real happened. Yeah, and I had to like say nicely to the person, like, this is just kind of an entertainment thing. Like, no one here believes in werewolves. Werewolves, not real.
No one except for that one guy. The one guy.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, where can people find you?
I still can't get over the werewolf guy.
I mean, you can go there and find it. He's like, who will bite me? Firstly, he said, who can bite me and turn me into a werewolf? And then he said, no one can bite you and turn you into a werewolf. And we're like, dude, you're giving us really mixed messages here.
Okay, I'm crying a little bit. You can find me over at Hot Rod Cameras, hotrodcameras.com, which this episode comes out on Wednesday. And if you're local in Los Angeles and there's still tickets available, you can join us for our first awesome in-person event, real, like sort of like big in-person event since the pandemic. When I say big, we are selling tickets and limiting the number of people, so it's not going to be that big. But it's going to be awesome. It's called Cinebeer. It happens the day after Cinegear, which is, of course, the big trade show that goes on this week. This time it's going on Thursday through Saturday. On Sunday, starting at 2:30 over at Hot Rod Cameras, we are doing this incredible food, drink, and equipment demo extravaganza. And we're going to have a lot of big companies there showing new stuff that has never been seen before, which is pretty cool. And of course, some of the other stuff that is out there that just you wanted to get your hands on. But yeah, lots of cool stuff. I just booked today. Fujinon is going to be there, or Fujifilm will be there with their new sort of mirrorless camera that records ProRes internally and all kinds of other cool stuff. So Schneider's going to be there with their ISCO for all new affordable anamorphic lens set and all kinds of good things. So yeah, we're selling tickets. It's on Eventbrite. And if you are in Los Angeles and you want to come to a cool party, it costs $25, but you get $20 back in store credit for Hot Rod. And it'll be a really good casual networking event. And yes, vaccination is required. So you will have to show your vaccination card to get in. Yeah.
But unfortunately, we won't be doing a live podcast.
We will not be doing a live podcast. Not this time. Maybe next year.
Tisk, tisk, tisk.
There's only too many things to
I hear you.
Coordinate and negotiate. I'm still trying to, cross some I's and dot some T's right now to finish things up. Anyway, so Ben, let's thank some people.
All right, well, let's start by thanking Ben Katz, whose life I personally have not made very easy in this particular recording session today.
But I really didn't make it easy. So the failure was all over here on the set.
Oh, we should say Ben Katz is our editor. Holy crap. We hand him a pile of garbage, and then he makes a coherent podcast out of it. It's pretty amazing.
Hey, Ben, look at all this garbage.
I found all this in the dumpster behind the Shoney's. Can you make a podcast out of it? And then you're like, holy crap. When I listen to the podcast, I'm like, oh my God, he did such a great job. we should thank Kay's Al-Atrakchi, who created every scrap of music that you've heard, and supposedly,
And even the parts that weren't scraps.
And then supposedly we're going to be getting some new music from him, like possibly some ad music, some other, yeah. So thank you, Kays, for all your hard, diligent work. We love your music. Go to musicbykays.com. Hire Kays to score your next movie or whatever. And lastly, but never leastly, we should always thank Alana Cody, our intrepid producer who kicks all the ass, gets us all these amazing interviews. And if you like listening to this podcast every week, you have Alana Cody to thank. She has been the guiding force and the engine to keep this going every week for the last, 3 years now? 4 years?
Something like that. It was before the pandemic, so, it's been
Holy
a while.
Christ, it was a different time.
Anyway, so Ben, I think that just about does it for us. Thanks everyone for listening, and we will see you, or you will see us, or maybe you'll just hear us
You'll hear
next
us.
week.
You're not going to see anything.
Yeah, there's no seeing involved. Unless they go to the YouTube channel, and then they can see us a little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit.
This has been the Cinematography Podcast, presented by Hot Rod Cameras. Find your next camera, lens, or accessory on the web at hotrodcameras.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our show on iTunes and connect with us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for listening.